You are Jalen.
I'm Tamara Bowen.
Tamara, and you
Khamansha
are.
Raphael.
Okay, and that means.
That means courage, man. That means standing and walking in courage, stepping out in courage.
Raphael means healer.
Healer,
Yeah.
healer and courage.
Yeah.
And you all, with names like that, they aren't just everyday names. Definitely, you all are representing.
For sure.
And you are representing what?
We're representing the total liberation of black people in this country and in this world. Similar to the organization Afro-American Unity, similar to the Black Star Line of Marcus Garvey, similar to the Civil Rights Movement that was pushed by Martin Luther King and ancestors of that social political transformation and destruction, complete destruction of the system that is current today.
Right. Now, I like the way you said that because all those organizations had one thing in common: their struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Now they define their struggle based on what was going on in their era.
For sure.
Define your struggle for me.
But my struggle is based in an everyday black trauma. As soon as I step out of my house, in my house, I turn on my TV, I listen to my radio, I listen to my favorite hip-hop stations. I hear black trauma everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, my life socially, mentally, and spiritually is in danger. And first and foremost, I do this for Jesus Christ. I do this for the loving Son, Jesus Christ, because He is the greatest revolutionary to ever live, and He's more than a being. He is God in the flesh. So every single day, we are traumatized. We don't need post-slavery trauma to teach us about our trauma each and every day, brother. We are dying each and every day, and I'm not just talking about physically. I'm talking about mentally. I'm talking about socially. I'm talking about politically. My people are dying, and that is my reality constantly, every single day. In microaggressions, in aggressiveness, in police brutality, in black-on-black hate, in intra-racism, in speak on the intra-racism and speak on what we see in the environment.
So you're talking about health disparities. I have a podcast on health disparities, and for example, black women die more than any other race anywhere in childbirth. So we as black people, we experience different disparities as far as our health. We have higher blood pressure. We have the worst foods in our community. We have our medical system is overpriced. It's underfunded. Our schools are underfunded. Those are the things that he's talking about.
Right. Now let me say this, because what I hear you saying, if I think back to some of the same struggles during civil rights, you dealt with education, where our education, our schools were underfunded.
For sure.
And actually there were times where they got the funding, but they came back later and said we weren't teaching our youth. So there's a give and take when you start asking for money. If you don't ask the right questions, you don't get the right things. Now I heard you make a statement that was, it's one of those things like when people say, I'm black and proud, say it loud. It sounds good and it fills the atmosphere for the moment with a statement.
For sure.
But similar to that was the statement, no justice, no peace. Is that really the statement we really want to communicate?
And that's it, brother. That's the statement we have to communicate, and it cannot be a platitude. These protests, if you see our thing right here, we say we must have organized. We must
organize a program, because protesting is for the moment. Program will last.
Okay, we're trying to get their attention. Now that we have their attention, we need to develop our rhetoric. We need to develop the things that we want to say. We need to develop everything in Powernomics. There's for all your listeners, go find the book Powernomics. Powernomics, because it talks about the whole development of not just black communities, but people of color, dominating and understanding what power really looks like. Power doesn't just look like money. Power doesn't just look like money. I'm gonna say that one more time. Power doesn't look like money. It looks like spirituality. It looks like education. It looks like holistic healing of the mind, body, and soul. So we're out here, no justice, no peace means that not just we're gonna rage against the system. That's not what it means. It means that we are never at peace until things are right. If you look in the Bible, what justice stands for is God making things right again. Okay? Making things right. Go look up Micah 6:8. Go make things right again. Go walk with the Lord and make things right. So we are not at peace until we find justice and we find this in a whole system. And I'm gonna be honest with you. This is a fight that's gonna last for my whole natural born life. My whole natural born life. I believe in critical race theory. Go read that. Critical race theory. Racial permanence is a real thing. Racial permanence is a real thing. It's going to happen until the end of our lives. But we continue the struggle in Jesus' name. We continue that.
Let me throw a question in for you. See, when we talk things like justice, and we talk things like Jesus. Now, mind you, Jesus did say, "Think not that I come to bring peace."
For sure.
But a sword.
For sure.
Now that sword looks to be a weapon of destruction, but it's the weapon that brings about justice.
For sure.
So when we say no justice, no peace, we can actually speak that spiritually. But if we are just using words that sound rhetorical, that can get and be twisted, it kind of defeats what you're standing for.
For sure.
Today there are a lot of groups that are meeting and doing things that they're showing on television, and they're being destructive. And they say that these people aren't even from the areas that they are representing. So just for clarity there, tell us about your organization, where you're located, and how can people find out and learn more about
So
you.
we're a mobile organization. Okay, so we don't have one orientated spot, but for our social political chapter, we have 3 chapters. We have community development, we have spiritual nourishment, and we have creative control and production. Okay, for our social political aspect, our community development, we want to establish something right in the heart of Atlanta. We are from Douglasville, Georgia. We have people in Gwinnett, we have people in Cobb County, we have people in all these different places, and we are a Christ-based because we believe in intersectional gospel. Okay, we believe the carving out that Jesus Christ died in the center of the human experience, and he died for all people, right? So we are based right here in Atlanta, Georgia, but we are also based in other counties and other places. But you can find us at the Soul.Tribe, the Soul.Tribe on Instagram, and you can find us at the Soul.Tribe on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. We make music, brother. We do poetry. We make we do art. We do have podcasts. My brother got a podcast called Content, okay? We have all these things. We are completely trying to englobe the system, okay? You need to control a system with a whole system, not just one program, but a collaborative system. So we're looking for collaborators right now. We're looking for people that want to produce something in the inner city, but we are in the inner city and we're in the outer city. You can find me in Douglasville, Georgia. You can find my brother in Gwinnett County. You can find everywhere. We are everywhere. We are everywhere. But first and foremost, follow us on the Soul.Tribe. The Soul.Tribe. Bro, I'll give you my number. 678-437-6112. If you really about this revolution, if you really about this change, hit me up. Because, brother, we gonna see who's really about this 6 months from now. They were turning up over there. I'm not dissing them. That's why my brothers and my sisters, this ain't no party, man. This ain't no party. My people died for this. This ain't no party, man. We need change. We need programs. We need development. So that's what we out here to do.
And from listening to your heart, you're not out here just because of the recent incident.
No.
You out here because of the struggle.
We're out here for the elongated struggle.
Right. Now you gave your number. I suppose if someone scans this, that'll take them to your site.
That would take us to their petition. So where we're go ahead. Talk about the petition, man.
Okay, so this petition is for the hate crime bill. This is House Bill number 426. It has been in the House before. It has been denied. So this petition is basically to get the bill passed. This bill encompasses a bunch of different things. There are things that fall under this bill. If this bill doesn't get passed, other bills won't get passed that fall under it. For example, well, I'll tell you what the House bill is. I meant the crime bill is. The hate crime bill gives mandatory sentencing to crimes that were based in prejudice, racism, and in bias. For example, what happened to with Ahmaud Arbery. Obviously, that was racism. Obviously, that was bias and prejudice. And so that kind of crime would fall under the hate crime bill. Do your research on it, because I can't tell you it in entirety, because I'm not the bill, I'm not the walking bill. Before you sign anything, do your research on it. This bill will not encompass everything, but it is a start in the right direction.
And we're out here, we have a list of demands. We have a true list of demands. Our first demand is we are defunding the police. We need to defund the police in Atlanta, Georgia. If you do not know what that means, the police are paid by us. Okay? They are paid by our tax dollars. They are paid by our extra funds, everything in the city. Every time they make an arrest, every time they pull somebody over, every time they give a ticket, they get extra bonuses, okay? We need to defund those extra bonuses and put those into social, creative, and mentally stimulating programs for youth in the inner city. We are taking them of all their extra resources. When they kill somebody, they get paid from us. We are killing that right now. People in DC are standing with us. People in Maryland are standing with us. People in all over this country, in Chicago, they are standing with us. And we are defunding the police. Not saying that they will not get paid. That is a job. That is a job, okay? They need to get paid. We need police, but that is not their identity. They take off their badge too. They take off that, and when we rob them of that power, they'll understand that they are people. They are not gods.
You know, I like what you said in the beginning about the system. The police, as far as the system goes, where would you say they fall? You think they're the head of it, or just another tentacle that we are challenging?
I would say they're pawns. I would say this system goes so deep, my brother. They are pawns in this system. Okay? They are foot soldiers in this system. This is not the whole end all be all of the system. You see all this? They are pawns in this system, okay? We have industrial complexes. We have military complexes. We have food deserts that are deserting our communities. We have financial programs that are robbing of our communities. We have major corporations. Every single iPhone and every camera that is on me, they are all a part of this system, brother. They are all part of this system, but we control the system. But we are robbed. We are blind to our power.
Let me say something, and I'm going to challenge you on that. See, we use terms that if someone played back what you just said, we control the system. Do we actually control the system?
I'm sorry, we do not control the system.
Correct, and I want to clarify that because if we're going to have a cry, our cry needs to be accurate.
I respect that.
We don't want to be about just rhetoric. The only reason I called you over here to interview you was I saw your heart. And seeing a person's heart is not the same as seeing their emotions. I can tell that you're pretty hype and she's pretty calm. Y'all seem to be a good balance for each other.
Yeah, that's my wife. That's my future wife.
All right, now I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah.
How long? 6 years from now? 6 months? Whatever it takes, I'm going to hold you to that. But this is what I really want to stress here. You made some very important points, that it's not about a momentary thing. In other words, when this emotions die down and all these people go where they're going, black lives are still going to matter, but we're still going to be in the struggle. And I like the pretenses of what you say you're looking to do.
And I want to say to that too, that being heartbroken is a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong journey. God has allowed us to be heartbroken because we have to carry something, bro. Deny yourself and carry your cross. Self-denial, self-sacrifice every single day. What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to give up to defame and defraud this system? Pull it down. We do not control this system. But pure power is in the people. Pure power is not in the things you see on TV. It is not in these material. All this can go. Pure power is in the soul of the people. It's in the heart and the soul of the people. But what are you willing to deny for that power?
Now let me ask you a question to judge some of what's going on here. Do you think we are using the right terminology? Going back to that same statement when we say no justice, no peace. In order to achieve what we have to achieve, does it come as a result of violence?
No.
Or does it come as a result of peace?
It comes from a result. It comes from a result of resistance and endurance.
And I like the way you use that word resistance, but I'm going right back to that word peace. I'm going back for a reason. I'm a realist, as Jesus said, think not that I come to bring peace, but a sword. But results, or the end results of that sword is a peace because of the truth. So there's some words that have to precede our movement and our outcry. So when we say no peace, no justice, if you got someone that's fearful and they're watching that on television, they're afraid of you as a black man.
For sure.
But if you have someone that's knowledge, awake, and aware, they want to find out where's this man going to be next.
For sure. But you know what it is? I don't mean to cut you off. And this is what makes me angry. Your generation ain't out here.
I am out here.
You out here. But where's your generation to teach me?
And this is a very important point. I like my brother's consciousness. He says that my generation is not out here, and your generation is. But where is the consciousness that you possess? You just said that they were really doing great over here, but they were missing the point. So is it really about generation?
No. It's not about generation.
All right, then.
I can't put it on your.
So it's not about a generation. Period.
I respect that.
It's about a knowledge, a wisdom, and a sense of direction. And that's what we're lacking now.
For sure.
So the thought of this generation or that generation is divisive. It's not about the generation.
That's true.
It's about a mindset.
And it's about a heart for it. It's about a heart for it.
And that's what the Bible says, out of the mouths comes the issues of the heart.
For sure.
But the first thing before we can move this group here, we got to change their thinking.
For sure.
So when I challenge the statement that what is it again now? No justice, no peace. I understand fully, but for clarity, I want you to explain, because I've called you on that. So now, explain that to a sense that people listening really would understand those two conflicting words that we use in the same sentence.
No justice, no peace. For me, in this understanding, what it really should mean, and I can't speak for anyone that's misinterpreting it. What it really means is that there should be no rest. There should be no rest until there is a total toppling of the system. This should not have happened after Trayvon Martin. Right. This should not have happened after Fernando Castile. This should not have happened again and again and again. And every time it's on a feedback loop. It's at a feedback loop. We get emotional. We come out here. We rile up. We out here for a couple weeks. You see every color, every piece, and after a while we go back to our work. We go back home. We go back to YouTube and Spotify and all these things, and we're back at peace. We're back chilling again. And then it happens again, and we're back on a feedback loop. There should be no peace. There should be no peace. I'm not just talking about physical violence, because we are psychologically violent every single day. We are psychologically violent towards each other every single day. There should be no peace. We need to keep being in the streets, but we need to be in programs. Right. That's what I'm saying. Programs last longer than protests. You understand? Things that last in the community that you can go to. If you go back, like I said, to the 60s, if you go to the 50s, they had programs. There was no time for ill intent. There was no time for ill intent because they knew exactly how they were moving. They were moving together, but they created a system of their own. And you know what they were threatened by? That system. They pulled down the Black Panthers because they had a system. They pulled down all these other systems because that's exactly what they were. They weren't just people out in the street. There were programs out here. So when I mean no justice, no peace, means that there can be no rest in our hearts. There can be no rest until we get a change that we need to see. And that might come back in the day of Jesus. That might come back when we see Jesus in the sky, but we gotta fight. Because Jesus told the beginning of the story, and he told the end of the story. But he called us to live in the middle of the story.
I like the way you say that. And yes, my brother, by all means, you are?
Freddie Joseph from the Caribbean. I just want to say that we as a people, we have to understand that the Creator created us with an instinct of self-preservation. The first law of the universe is self-preservation. We have negated that. We have lost our mind as a race of people. But right now, the black man, his mind is being restored back to himself. Because you see the way that we live as a people, as a nation. You see how we destroy our own selves, our surroundings, our cities, everything about us we destroy. Mm-hmm. It's because we have lost our mind, okay? And most of all, I cannot just blame us as a people. The Europeans played a great part in the destruction of the African mind.
For sure. Let me interject. You see, what you're saying is partly true. And most of it isn't that we've lost our mind. We still have our minds. There are some of us that are crippled by fear. There are the informed that have the degrees. There are the doctors. They study this in history. There's the ill-informed that are more concerned with the color of my skin than my intellect. For sure. So when we say we've lost our mind, no, we haven't lost our mind. We haven't collectively awakened our minds. The struggle that's going on now, I like what you were saying. It isn't one that's going to go away because there will be justice. I was just saying to my wife today, what do you think is going to happen when this family settles or sues and get whatever finance they're going to get, and they are told that they can no longer speak on this issue? They won't be a part of that struggle. What do you think the attorneys right now that are out front are going to do when that case is won? What do you think that the people that are showing us what they want us to see on television, when it's died out and it's no longer news and something else comes along, what do you think happens to this story? It's not about this story. Everything that you mentioned in the past, it deals with justice. And the absence of justice is the presence of injustice. If our cry is not one that pertains to justice, we aren't crying. We are just resounding what they've heard in the past. The battle is an ongoing one, and it needs to be one where we are empowered. And emotions and empowerment are not the same thing.
That's facts.
So we gotta die. We gotta kill off the emotions, our own emotions. That's what we need to lose.
That's fact.
But we need to find our mind. Not our minds, because our minds come from all sort of situations, views, and perspectives. The Bible lays it out plain. We need to find the mind of Christ. And that's, as you say, that preservation mind. The mind that says, what Dr. King said, if a man hasn't found something for which he's willing to die, he isn't fit to live. The things that are desirous, you need a group, just as my brother is speaking of now, that's going to demand that, not in times of adversity, but in times of comfort as well.
For sure.
The problem isn't that there aren't laws, the problem is that the laws aren't being enforced.
For sure.
So if we are going against that because of racial issues, what are we saying? Are we acknowledging that the law that's in place doesn't apply to us? What I loved about Dr. King and his march and the demands they made, they didn't go crying to be equal as blacks. They cried for justice. And until justice becomes our cry, we need a common cry.
Yeah.
And when we have that common cry, our voices become a united voice.
That's real.
And without that unity, we can tell the story as you just started off with about how we're losing our mind. No, we haven't lost our minds. We may have been miseducated in some cases, if you watch the news, misinformed. But we have our minds. And it's time we started thinking. And that calls for education. Education, motivation, and inspiration. As I asked you to do this interview, I was looking at the way you sounded, and I want to hear your heart. Now let me tell you mine.
Yeah.
We as a people, we have a problem. We as a country have a problem. We as a world has a problem. We as a spiritual community has an even greater problem. But the Bible says, be ye in the world, but not of the world.
Amen.
So the challenge is greater for those who are spiritually awakened.
Okay.
But those who are not, we're either a part of the problem or a part of the solution.
Okay.
And we don't become a solution because we gather in numbers. We don't become a solution because we march. We become a solution when we can spread the knowledge that's necessary to empower those who are frustrated, who are angry as hell, and might appear ignorant as hell because they are not empowered as they should be. So the challenge today, as you said, the challenge then, the challenge today, and the one that we're going to take up as we move forward is that empowerment. It is that education, that motivation. And that in itself will lead to that inspiration. Today, our people, they need something to get behind. Right now, look at the thought. All this because of a murder and injustice. Injustice we've had all along. And injustice we're going to have beyond this murder. So if we don't focus on the right things, we're going to be thrown off. Once the emotion passed, the justice still hasn't been obtained. So the cry needs to be for justice. We can fight injustice every day, 365 days of a year. But if we're going to wait on a murder before we can actually move forward, that's where the problem comes in at. And just as the family said, let's do this peacefully, let's do this right. All they were saying is that we want justice. We're not looking for violence. We're not looking for an eye or tooth for a tooth. We're looking to say, what does the law say?
For sure.
And when the civil rights movement was going on, they had signs. It just occurred to me, the sign said, I am a man. And it's so ironic that today we're carrying a sign that says, Black Lives Matter. Imagine those two signs. Black man in his era for civil rights saying, I am a man. And today, the youth carrying a sign saying, Black Lives Matter. Think about how much those two signs have in common. The difference is how much does the movements have in common. There's something missing. And that's the something that we need to revive. That's the something we need to get back to. There was a baton that was dropped. And it wasn't one that I dropped. The Bible tells us that when the shepherd is killed, when you cut the head off the shepherd, the sheep will scatter. We have scattered. There were some victories that were won that have slowly been lost. But there are people with the mindset to take up the mantle to regain those victories. Some of us that know we need to join and align with those who aspire to know. And together we can represent that power. We can represent empowerment. United we stand, divided we fall. Let me tell you how to become divided. When you stand on issues that are here today and gone tomorrow, you are self-defeating. When you stand upon issues that go back so far in time that when you open your Bible, you're reading the past that looks like the present. That validates the struggle that we are in, that you should see yourself as being a part of. It should give you a purpose. It should give you encouragement. And because of that purpose and encouragement, we should be willing to take up that baton that has been dropped. There was a saying that he who gets behind in a race must forever remain behind or run faster than the man in front. If the race is about justice, there isn't a black race, there's a race for justice. And where there's a race for justice, the black man and the white man should be running together. There's no white justice and black justice. If I had to give them a color, one would have to be justice and the other would have to be injustice. So when you make the statement, no justice, no peace, there's a reality to that. There's no one that desires justice that should be at peace. But the goal is not to be violent, it's to be dissatisfied. So dissatisfied with what's going on today that it motivates us to be inspirational, and that's called dissatisfactional inspiration. Everybody out here has a reason for being here, but we want a reason that goes beyond this gathering today. And it didn't just start with that murder. It has been there all along. It's a cry that we all need to take up, and it's a cry for justice. We are in a time period now where some of us who may be comfortable sitting on the side, some of us who may be comfortable sitting at the rear, and some of us who may be comfortable sitting at home. I want to share a little story with you all. I went to Africa and I was speaking with some students, and there they are taught to say everything in unison. And I asked them a question. I said, "What is your name?" And they all laughed. There was no unison. They were missing something. And if I did that today and I asked you, what is your organization? The Soul. The Soul. Are you with an organization? Are you with an organization? Some of us are wearing t-shirts that says Black Lives Matter. We got all these different names, so if I say, what is your name? And you say The Soul, and you say Black Lives Matter, your cry is diminished because you're not crying in unison. The world needs a cry today. And what I said to those black youths, I'm going to show y'all the power of unison. I said to them, when I ask you your name, I want you to answer me with, we are on the rise. What's your name?
We are on the rise.
What's your name?
We are on the rise.
What's your name?
We are on the rise.
What's your name?
We are on the rise.
What's your name?
We are on the rise.
What's your name?
We are on the rise.
That when we can cry in unison like that, we don't need a megaphone. We don't need a camera, because when you leave here today, you're going to remember the words, we are on the rise. And I challenge you all, when you leave here, to be on the rise. Educating, motivating, and inspiring others to rise above their situation and circumstances. We are
On the rise.
We are
On the rise.
We are
On the rise.
God bless and keep you all. Whatever your struggle is, take a picture here. This petition, the name of your organization is what?
The Soul. The Soul. You can find us at thesoul.tribe. Thesoul.tribe on Instagram and on Facebook.
And if you look on Facebook, as you notice, I hadn't told you much about my organization. I am Jamie Eatman, and I am on the rise. That's my introduction before I preach. That's my introduction before I speak. That's my introduction no matter where the hell I am. I am Jamie Eatman, and I am on the rise.
And can I say something?
Yes,
Can
sir.
I say something? So, what we need to understand too is that the intersection of life meets every struggle.
Yes.
Intersectionality. It's called the intersectional gospel, right? They play it as intersectionality, but God died at the intersection of life for every single soul. right? It's called pure religion. Go look up James 1 verse 27. I live in communities where Jesus is the white man's religion. That is a lie. That is a lie. That Jesus only died for this people or that person. He died for every single being and every single living soul. We need to live at the intersection of all peace, all justice, and all power is at the intersection of life. There is a struggle. If you look to your left, look to your left. Look to your right. You can resonate with every single person in one way or another. And if you have nothing else in common, you're breathing and they're breathing. We all have blood in our bodies, and we all have a struggle because we are on the rise.
Amen.
And that's what truth does. The truth is we are on the rise, and if we're ever held down, it's because we allow someone to hold us down. As long as you have a mind to rise, nothing can hold you back. And that's where we're moving forward, not because of this incident. This incident is only a catalyst. And if we will allow it to empower us, there's nobody that can prevent us. The struggle is real, but it needs to be constant.
And for those that weren't here earlier, we don't just need protests, we need programs. We need to establish something in our community that sets